Today I'm going to be filming books to read in your 20s. I watched Jack Edwards basically do this video, and I honestly love watching book YouTube. It just makes me feel so relaxed. So I hope you like this video. Please like and subscribe if you want to, and let's get into it. So I'm going to start off with fiction. I'm going to start with non-fiction. There's way more non-fiction than there is fiction. As I said, this is inspired by Jack Edwards, and some of these books do overlap, but there is some you probably might not have heard of, so hopefully in case for everyone. So the first, as I said, these are all like non-fiction. So the first one I have just on top is The Unexpected Joy of Being Single. I just think, no matter what your age, to be honest, everyone needs to read this book. I learned so much from this book. It's just insane. What it is about is it's about a woman who was like a serial dater in her 20s and her 30s, and she got to a point where she basically went through a really bad breakup and just like realised there was lots of things like not wrong in her life, but things needed to change basically. So she took a whole year off dating and really like did a deep dive into why society really expects you to get married and have kids and like settle down. And sort of how she filled her time when she wasn't dating, and I just found it so interesting. And it's one of those books you can kind of dip in and out of it when you need to. Like if someone just broke your heart, you can read this. If you started dating someone new, you can read this. Yeah, I just honestly found it such a refreshing read. As I said, it's not one of those books where it's like all men are trash, because obviously not all men are trash. As I said, she talks about basically all of her exes. She calls them different names, but she does talk about her like ex-boyfriends and things and what she learned from each relationship. I just absolutely love this book, and more people need to read it for sure. And she also did a book called The Unexpected Joy of Being Sober, so that's something that interests you as well. I'll definitely give it a go, and she's really good to follow on Instagram. It was Catherine Great that wrote this, but yeah, I absolutely love this book. On a similar theme of like dating relationships, again, it's called Attached by Dr. Amir Levine and Rachel S.F. Heller. So this book is all about attachment theory. If you've studied psychology, you'll probably know what I'm talking about. But there's this kind of notion as well, I think even on TikTok, it's kind of really steeped into like dating coach TikTok of like which attachment style you are. Because I watched those TikToks before, it's like I don't feel like I really fit into one category. And I did the quiz in here and I don't. I'm basically a mixture of secure and avoidant, which are kind of the opposites of each other. But yeah, I found it really interesting reading this, and it gives you a chance to like reflect on your own dating experience or like relationships. And again, it sort of looks into the study of like how people are expected to behave in relationships versus what you should actually feel and things like that. And again, it is quite an informative read, and I do think everyone should read this if you want to understand yourself a bit more without paying like hundreds of pounds in therapy. The next one is Everything I Know About Love by Dolly Alderton. This book it's a bit similar to The Unexpected Joy of Being Single, but this is more of like an autobiography in a way. So Dolly Alderton is in her late 30s now, and again, similar to Catherine Gray, she did a lot of dating in her 20s, and this book basically follows her from like her childhood to like sort of her 30s, about like everyone she's dated, all the parties she went to growing up, and sort of university. And I just think it really captures like growing up in Britain, like, or growing up in England really well. It sort of ends around like 2012, and they have just made a TV show based on the book. They change all the names in it. So as I said, in this book is about Dolly, so she refers to herself as Dolly, but in the TV show she calls the main character Maggie. I'm like, it's literally about you. So I don't know why she changed the names, but other than that, the TV series is a close match to this, although I feel like there's more episodes to come because it kind of finishes halfway through what the book does. But yeah, as I said, it is really good. I just love the whole, like, she talks about like MSN sort of going onto like Instagram, and yeah, I can see why everyone loves this book, because I've really enjoyed it. I read it in about 4 days, and yeah, it just sums up like dating apps really well. So yeah, there's sort of less advice in this, and it's more just her kind of story, but you do learn at the same time. But yeah, I would really recommend. The next one is sort of going on to more things not related to dating. This is The Female Eunuch by Germaine Greer. This is all about feminism, and this book was actually written in the 1980s. and I think I've recommended this book before, and I will say it's not for the faint-hearted. It is quite hard to digest at times, just I think the way it's written is very kind of, it is almost like an academic text. She does refer to a lot of studies and things, but what I found really interesting particularly was how she kind of addresses like women's working conditions and like the gender pay gap, and the fact she wrote that in the 80s and it's still the same now says a lot about society, I feel like. So if you really want to like learn more about feminism, or you've never really read anything academic about feminism, this is a really good place to start. Yeah, I really like this because it was hard to read at times just because it was quite formal, but as I said, if you're interested in feminism, would recommend. A similar scope, this is also about feminism but more black feminism. It's called Taking Up Space by Chelsea Kawaki and Ore Ogunubi. She does say how to pronounce her name in the book, but I haven't read this in about 2 years. So this is about two girls who went to different universities, I think, and they basically share their experiences of being black females in obviously a very white dominated space. And obviously I would never know how that feels because I'm a white female, but I just found this so interesting. I think it really shows a true depiction of like university culture in the UK. And obviously I've never experienced it from a black perspective either, so it really does show you sort of micro discrimination, micro racism, and it opens your eye to like what people really go through whilst at university. And yeah, I really liked it. It is a lot easier to read than the Female Eunuch because obviously it's based in like more real time. But yeah, really like this. Another one you probably have heard of if you followed me for a while. This is The Truth Behind the Filter, an empowering collection of student lived experiences. I have actually written in this book, I know. I still can't believe it, but it's not about me as I've only written one chapter. There's 50 chapters in here from people ranging from the age of like 18 to about 30. So what it is a collection of stories by students and graduates who have struggled with something whilst being in education. So if you're off to university, I would recommend this book, or even if you're not, if you're a fresh graduate, I would really recommend it. Again, it's just one of those books that really opens your eyes about what other people go through, and if you're struggling with something, you can probably find something you can relate to in this book. Like, it's not a self-help book, but I just feel like when I dropped out of university, I wish I had this book because there's just so many stories kind of similar to mine, or people who just changed their direction entirely. I would give some trigger warnings to this book. There is mentions of suicide, what else is in here, like abuse and things like that. So if that is something you struggle with, you can skip those chapters. But yeah, there is some very sensitive topics, but as I said, if you're someone at university age or in your 20s, I would really recommend this book. Now going on to fiction, there's actually only 3 here. The first one is Loveless by Alice Oseman, and this recommendation I did get from Jack Edwards, and it's about a girl who starts at Durham University and she hasn't had a boyfriend, has never had her first kiss, that kind of thing, which obviously is something I wish this book was around before I went to university because I was in that similar position. And it's just, this book is all about kind of self-discovery, and it's the first book I've read which really explores like the asexual spectrum. And yeah, I just think it's a really important book for especially people in their like sort of late teens to early 20s to read if you're kind of still discovering yourself, and you want to learn more about different sexual identities. Yeah, I really love this book. And also it's written by the same person who wrote Heartstopper, which is now a Netflix show, so I need to read the Heartstopper books as well. But yeah, I absolutely love this book. I would 100% read it again, because I just think it covers so many things like so well. The next one is Sally Rooney, Conversations with Friends. This is probably a bit of an unpopular opinion, but I preferred this to Normal People. If you've watched the TV show of this, I think that was a massive letdown. I do not think the main characters were done justice in that TV show. I feel like it got a lower budget than Normal People. I don't know, something about the TV show felt off, but I absolutely love this book. I think I got it from a charity shop. I was like, oh, I did like Normal People, but I didn't like love it. But this book follows 2 girls, Bobby and Frances, who go to university in Dublin. They've known each other since school, and then they meet they meet a couple who are like actors and actresses who are a bit older than them. So it kind of is, I feel like a lot of Sally Rooney books sort of look at like class divide, and sort of like relationships and things. So yeah, again, it covers sexuality really well. it covers endometriosis, and even though it's fiction, it just feels very real, and you get a lot of like internal monologue from Frances in this, which I found really interesting, which I think the TV show just didn't do, which is such a shame, because I said Frances has so many layers in the book, but I just found her very like one-dimensional in the show. I don't know, I remember watching TikToks after actually about this one girl like reviewing it, and she was like, when I read it in the book I thought it went this way, but then in the show they executed it such a different way. I guess it just shows people like interpret books differently. But yeah, if the TV show was a letdown, but the book, I absolutely loved it. My last book is Queenie by Candice Carty-Williams, about a woman living in London who talks about her dating life. And what I like about this book is it really like the whole way through it has her group chat of like her girlfriends, and I just think that is done so well. It kind of breaks the book up a little bit. It's not just like loads and loads of text, like you get like their text conversations and like voice notes and things. And again, I would give a trigger warning, there is like pregnancy loss in this, and yeah, like abusive relationships. But it's just, again, it's about a woman really finding herself, which I think a lot of people go through in their 20s. Like you will go through a shitty relationship or situationship, and it talks about sex quite a lot. But yeah, I really like this, and I would read it again, to be honest. So those are all the books I think you should read in your 20s. Let me know what other book suggestions you have, because I am a massive reader. My book target is 30 this year, and I've read 21 already, so I'm really close to my target actually. But yeah, I love talking about books, I love reading. So yeah, let me know your suggestions. Please like and subscribe if you like this video, and I will see you soon. Bye.